go. Handsome. See, it's weird. This is the thing where it's like, we're not live yet, but we don't know if we're live, but we might be live, but we don't know yet. There we go. We live?
We are officially live.
You want to do the official introduction?
Sure. Making it. FOG Andrew here, and the coach here from Family Gamers. Welcome, War Gamers, to an exciting, awesome interview. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Andy Hobday.
Don't forget the one and only.
The one and only Andy Hobday.
Striking young lad. Now, before we start, for my fellow North Americans, if you're put off by Andy's accent, don't worry, because I am versed in the King's English and I will be able to decipher everything here. But so, what up, brother? It's been a long time coming, man. We're glad we've been talking over this interwebs thing, and now we get to actually talk with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'll do my best.
Yeah, it's only 3 weeks late. I mean, I know you Brits, it's no worries, but all right, no problem. Oh, yeah. But it's all right. So I know you've been busy, man. So we're going to get to that. So
okay,
but we'll start off. You want to do the old BS? Maybe some of the guys that are from the channel but new, because for us, the whole Mortal Gods and whatnot. The Andy Hobday fiefdom that we're into now is kind of new to us. We've been playing other games and whatnot, but this is our new thing. So you want to hit everybody with like your background and all that stuff. What do you play? What do you like?
Of course. Yeah, I started gaming a long time ago. It all started for me with the Fighting Fantasy books. It was a Warlock of Python Mountain was the first thing. Back in my teens, which led on to Dungeons and Dragons. And then, I say this a lot, I ended up with more dwarves than, from different adventures than I knew what to do with. And someone introduced me to Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Okay.
So that was my real step into, tabletop wargaming. Mm-hmm. And when I discovered Games Workshop, and I was just totally hooked. And back in those days, there was only 6 stores in the UK. So it was a treat. Once a year, my dad used to let me go. He used to take, they're everywhere these days, aren't they? But, he used to drive me to the local store, which was a couple of hours away, and I'd save all my money and buy all the stuff. And, it just stayed with me. And, alongside Games Workshop, I discovered some other games, but they're more like tabletop, for historical war games, it was more like the hex-based games. There was a game called Cry Havoc, which was a medieval game, and there was another game called Samurai Blades. Mm-hmm. And they were really just counter war games. So between the two, that's what really, Games Workshop and I think they were, I'd like to say Standard Hill, with a games company who did them, but they were drawn by Gary Chalk, who, was a background in Games Workshop as well. Mm-hmm. And that's what hooked me in. So, cut a long story short, go forwards. I'd been travelling. I'd come back. I needed a job. Found out I was living in Nottingham. I followed a girl to Nottingham, as you do,
Right.
Back then, I was 19, I think 20 at the time. And I saw that Games Workshop was recruiting. And obviously, because that's where they were based back then, in Nottingham.
Right.
I fell into Games Workshop and had a job with them, and I worked at Games Workshop for about 15 years.
Wow. Okay.
After that, I left. I went and did other things, IT and stuff, and then I worked at Warlord Games. I was at Warlord Games for about 7 years, and then about 3 years ago, I left Warlord, and here I am doing futsal miniatures. I own half the futsal miniatures. I don't actually work there day to day, even though I seem to do a lot for them.
Right.
But they everything that I create goes through there. Mm-hmm. So along that path, most of my gaming, creative gaming and writing games, started really at Warlord. I mean, I wrote stuff before and all of that kind of stuff. But Graham Davey and I both worked at Warlord Games. We were looking at a real passion for feudal Japan and all of that, and we were looking for a game to play. A skirmish type game to play, and we couldn't find one that we liked. So in the end, we decided to write one. So while we were there, every evening, you know, after work at Warlord, we'd get stuff out and we'd play, and we played Test of Honor for about 18 months.
Right.
And fortuitously, I think, Warlord got their hands on the old War Games Factory plastics, and in there was the Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Well, you've got this." They knew we were playing. You've got this game. We've got these plastic Samurai.
Right.
Shall we put them together? And we did a deal to release the game. You know, so and that was released through Warlord.
Right.
So that was the first game that we did. Alongside that, I worked with Rick Priestley.
Okay.
Rick had created Antares, and he was very gracious to let me get involved in that, and I wrote the introductory game, the Strike Kara 9,
Okay.
obviously based on his rules. And when I left Warlord, we did Gangs of Rome, we did Mortal Gods, and we're now doing the Barons Wars.
Yeah.
So that's really in a potted history. I mean, gaming wise, I'll play anything.
Right.
You know, anything that I enjoy. It's more about enjoying the game, and I've got periods that I like, but for me, it's a very social pastime. I like to get together with my friends and play.
Right.
You know, but I'm happy to play anything. I still role play. I still play board games, and you know, play tabletop games.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny you're talking about Test of Honor. I want to hit on that. We were at Adepticon when you know the Warlord shop was, you know, so over here in Adepticon is the big show for us, and we're walking around, you know, video and doing this, and we go to Warlord and there's the setup, and I look at it, and you know I'm already, because me and you share a passion for all things samurai, and so I just see it set up, I see the you know the model set up and stuff, and I says, oh, wait a minute, there's a game. So he turns around and he goes, yeah, I know you're going to buy it. So I sit down, I do the demo, and I'm like, you know, I already, you know, well, show me how to play because I'm going to buy it anyway. So let's take it for a test drive. And the funny part was, like, I was like, all right, you know, I'll take it, man. I'll take the whole set, whatever. And he goes, all right, you know, it came out today. I said, what do you mean? He says, today's the first day. You know, we're displaying Test of Honor today. It's the first day. You're one of the first demo guys, and you're one of the first purchases. So I'm like, yes. So, you know, but how, are you? I know Graham is. You know, I've been following, and I was helped play testing the second part. I mean, we love the game. We love the game. I love the whole fact of, you know, like. You know, I guess we'll transition eventually. We'll talk about Mortal Gods, but like the samurai, it's more like, you know, this guy's an expert with Naginata, but this one's good with the Yari, but this one is good with the Yumi, and then you have a katana. It flows so well. So are you?
That was the.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was the idea when we were developing it. You know, we really wanted to capture that the feeling of the samurai films, but also if you know the Kurosawa films.
Yes.
You know, but it would be easy just to have not paid attention to the weapons, exactly what you're saying there, you know, and not put them in. And, you know, I studied martial arts for about 15 years, and at one point that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to a full-time dojo in New Zealand, of all places.
Me too. I used to own a dojo.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So,
there you go. Jesus,
yeah,
man.
So that's where my love comes from, and
yeah,
and understand it, you know, and it's not historically accurate and whatever, but it captures the whole essence of it for me, and that's what I love about it the most. And great, that was what we feel we captured. The feel of the game, you know, the feel of the background and of what the setting of what we wanted.
Right. Yeah, it just, you know, and it really does capture that samurai flavor, you know, like you know, and it's sometimes where, you know, as opposed to Mortal Gods, but you know, you'll have a battle, you go a few rounds, and the guys are trading blows, and you know, I know sometimes on the Facebook and even sometimes with Andrew, I said these are skilled warriors who is just their whole life is, you know, from 8 years old where they cut the top knot and you become samurai. It's just warfare. So, you're going against a guy who's training maybe 25 years just trying to kill each other. That battle might go on for, you figure a skirmish game is, 3 minutes in real life, but it takes us 3 hours. But they might be fighting for that time. And, and a good statistic, a samurai statistic was 25% was one victor, 50% both are mortally wounded, and then another 25% somebody was dead. So it does make
25% chance of walking away.
Yeah, walking away. And so I thought it captured that. Now, are you still involved with Graham doing that, or did he take the reins?
Graham took the reins and off he went. Don't get me wrong, we still talk about it, etc. But no, it's all Graham's baby now.
Yeah.
And I feed in now and again when he wants me to. But to be quite honest, he doesn't. He's more than capable of taking that and riding it, definitely. And when we both left Warlord, we still own the game, so we released it through Warlord, and we made the decision to end that relationship and move it on. And Futsal could have quite easily have released it, but Graham said, I'd like to do that, and I said, yeah, sure, so absolutely.
See, that's cool. That's cool. It's just like, all right, we're friends. Do what you got to do, and that's
totally.
Yeah. You know what it is, because when you get out, you unfortunately, me and you are close in age, but this frickin' social media thing, it's like, Warlord kicked out Test of Honor, kicked those guys out. And I was like, and Graham wrote that long letter saying, no, we just, we parted ways, shook hands, and we're doing our own thing. I'm like, all right, that's cool. It's, you guys left, Graham left the nest to do his own thing. And I said, you know what, I'll tell you what, second edition's great. I can't wait for the new book too,
Oh, me too. Yeah. No, we talked about the plans when we originally were doing version 1. And we couldn't get it all in. It's great that he's gone back and he's doing that. Me too. I'm really excited for it, and I'm 100% behind him. And I'll do anything to keep Test of Honor as a success. For Graham, it's great.
It's great. It's good that you two guys got together and did that and made such a good game, and it's still going. And honestly, I just can't wait to put stuff on fire. That's what I can't wait to do. So.
Yeah, I saw that. The images he released the other day. Yeah, they're amazing. And you know what? It's actually quite cool being in the group. And he seeing what he's releasing alongside you guys. And I'm loving that. Yeah, loving that.
Oh, it's great. It's great. So let's move on. All right. So it's good because you're answering good questions. I got my crib notes here. So let's talk Mortal Gods, man. This game that you had thrown in our lap, which we were eternally grateful, and I got to tell you, we love it. It's just, it's great. But the thing that we really liked was, and we get this a lot, from doing the videos and whatnot, and in the chats and whatnot. We were very happy that it was, for whatever reason, was linked up to Test of Honor, and is a Test of Honor in Greece, but it's not Test of Honor in Greece. It holds its own, and it stands upon its own. It's not like if you all right, Test of Honor. There's a few mechanics, and now and then actually by playing Test of Honor, we picked up Mortal Gods like very very quickly. Because it built on that, but where did that whole idea for Mortal Gods come from? That's I love the whole look at going back to what we were talking about gaming things. I pick up on things that I like, the visually, and Samurai look great, Greek hoplites look just amazing, and the whole paraphernalia. So that was the draw. They were another kind of warrior class that was quite iconic for me. Mm-hmm. So and I always wanted to do something with them, but and I don't mean this with any disrespect to anybody who does historical wargaming, but the idea of painting hundreds of Greek hoplites, lining them up in a phalanx and marching them across the board and pushing for a bit, and then one of them's breaking, the other one runs them down, doesn't appeal to me at all. Right. So they've got these great looking warriors, but I wasn't a big fan of their style of warfare. And I understood
why they did it, etc. They were very successful. However, having done some research into it, I found this this low cost term, which is like a ambush group, and these were a smaller group, mixed group of warriors that would go ahead of the party or be on the flanks, that kind of thing. And then from there, it was quite, this idea to create these smaller skirmishy forces, grew out of there. And why it's very much like Test of Honor is, I'll be honest, the easy thing was, we'll just call it Test of Courage.
Right.
And we'll put hoplites in and off we go.
Right.
It's Test of Honor in Greece. That was the initial way we started with it, and then we started playing. It just didn't feel right, because as you alluded to earlier, when we were Test of Honor, they have particular weapons, they have particular different types of warriors, and the game was written to fit that feeling. So just replicating that in Greece, it didn't work. The mechanics sort of worked, but the way that the game played didn't work. So we started that way, and then we just stripped it right back. And the major thing I wanted to keep, which was a bit that I really liked, was the blind draw. So we kept that, and then we just built off of there. So and that's how it. That's why it kind of. Again, in a nutshell, that's why it feels like Test of Honor, but it's become something very different.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. Like a bunch of mechanics that we really liked was like the armor, where in Test of Honor, once you're gone, one of the strategies I like to do is hit my arrow guys and you defend yourself.
Yeah.
But then you're defenseless, and that was the one. It's going to be hard. It's like we love Test of Honor, but that's the one kind of thing that sticks in my craw is like the guy went, but then he's going to get shot with an arrow and he can't defend himself. I think that having the armor check, like you have, or if you have a heavy armor, medium armor, it's a good mechanic. I really do like that mechanic.
It is, but when we did Test of Honor, again, what you were saying about skirmish being very quick, the idea of the turns in Test of Honor was it was meant to be split seconds. So.
Right.
When you have your round and everybody's taking their turn, I shoot. I'm not thinking of defending or the nature of the armor that they wore.
Right.
Which as I'm sure being interested, that kind of lacquered armor was very strong, very light. So we kind of decided to write that into the stats. So more about the dice. So when it comes to Test of Honor, it's more about where their attention is. More than anything else based on their activations. So that's why the only real change for armour is obviously if you've got someone who's unarmoured, they get one less dice. So it kind of works that way. But why armour became such a factor in Mortal Gods was because their armour is such a big deal. In the same way that a katana is a big deal.
Right.
For a samurai, the bronze or the I can't remember what it's called. The lacquered. It wasn't their lacquered armor, but that kind of. I'm sure someone will pick me up on it. But they're kind of hard.
It was. They call it the bogu.
Yeah, that was for the Greeks. That was very. It's very characteristic of that. So and the big shield. So we had to make a thing of that. That really is why it was in there. But yeah, no, you're right. You could mix it around. You could flip it.
Right.
Into it again.
Yeah, and then the leader ability that the guys inherently give out orders. When you have 3 activations and you're actually able to move troops around, we love that. A lot of times it's if you've seen the videos, we've gone every round 1 has gone to the 3rd omen token at the very end. It's like so we were talking the other day. The last video we did, the first round took us how long? It was about 2 hours.
Yeah,
it took us 2 hours. When you're playing, we're filming, so it doubles the time. But we went the first and then the second round almost went to the the 3rd omen token was like that and maybe 2 other tokens. So it's for us, but being able to give the have the troops move twice, or potentially move twice is tremendous. Or and my favorite. Out of all the guys, the slingers are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
They never disappoint. Every game we've ever played, the arrows are pretty good. The javelin guys, we call them like a hybrid.
Yeah.
Because you could fight with them or then they could step back and throw, whatever.
Yeah.
But the slingers, man, they never miss. The 10 inches, it just that's crazy.
And it's that trade off with them, isn't it? Because if someone charges them, they're toast, really. But you want to get them in close, so you get 2 shots.
Right.
So it's how you use them, and then having a commander to move it. It kind of that's the difference, I think, between the two.
Yeah, that was the strategy, and that's what I always. Every time there's a slinger, I just run at him. I'm not letting you. I'm not letting you throw 2, or 4 at me because you have a command dice. So now another thing too is we now we're going to hit you now that we got you.
Okay.
All right. So not only the round bases, but we have the phalanx bases, the triangle bases. Okay.
Yeah.
But we load up the table. All right. We put like. In when the Greeks used to fight, it's like, all right, we're going to go over here, that big open space, and we're going to kill each other. They'd
actually have designated battlefields that they keep going back to.
Yeah, well, it's like in the old days. I'm going to kick your ass. I'll meet you after school behind the dumpster.
Yes.
It was the designated place. So we're going to meet over here where there's no ruins, there's no nothing. But for us, that's not a Mortal Gods feel. It's Mortal Gods, like you said, is kind of this. All right, we're marching across. We're ambushed, or some kind of thing like that. But we load up. We just love terrain, loading up the table. But we were trying to figure out, and this is now. I've been waiting to do the interview. The phalanx, how mechanics wise, or maybe tip wise, as we're using it, because how would you use it at that? Because I know coming up, there was never a point. And then what happened was I finally made a phalanx. We were playing when we were learning. I made the phalanx, but then my guys took an injury and they had to break up. So what's the basis behind it? Any tips to help us out when Yeah,
the idea behind it, we had, and I get gently chided a lot about the phalanx because it's only 9 guys, and that's like, yeah, you're right.
Right, but all right. Let's take that out. It's a skirmish game.
Of course it is. When we were creating it, we wanted, because again, Greek hoplites would form up. That's the way they fought. So we had to include that in there some way. And while we were playtesting, we were trying over and over and over again to come up with a name for that formation. And we ended up just calling it phalanx. And I said, look, we're going to be damned if we do, damned if we don't. So let's just call it phalanx, and everybody can get that. So that's why it's called a phalanx, but it isn't really. The reason for it is that tactically there's two uses I use it for. One is you can start in a phalanx. There's nothing in the rules that says that you can't. So obviously, as you're drawing the pebbles, it'll allow you to move 3 guys on 1 pebble.
Right.
So you can it gets that deployment quite quickly. So that's a really good use for it, and get you guys across. And obviously, they get their defense as they're moving. So that's the positive. The negative, obviously, is the scenery, because they need clear channels to move in. So part of that is you really have to set them up in the right way. Mm-hmm. Or, it's a very good defensive position to take. So if you're playing an objective game, you could take it with 3 individual bases, get one on to push back, the other guys follow in, and then form up.
Okay.
So form up, use it to always form up in front of the objective as well, never on it, because then if you get pushed back, you're going to get pushed back onto it.
Right.
But that's the 2 uses for it, because you don't know when the omen tokens are going to come out.
Yeah. Oh, we're good.
So it's a good way to deploy you guys quite quickly.
Yeah, we're going to get to the omen, but and what we really like, the Pegasus. So as we're rolling, we roll, and then this is a Pegasi guy, and he gets the Pegasus, but I'll tell you what, those red Pegasus suck, because it's like, I got at least one, and then I got a Pegasus, and he always gets really upset with it, right? Isn't that like your biggest bugaboo with the Pegasus, right?
The -1. It's like I at least got 1 hit, and then no, you didn't actually get 1 hit.
Yeah, we'll just take that away.
I rolled a hit, a Pegasus, and a shield, and well.
and I got to tell. Did you make the dice on purpose? Because all we do is roll shields. Every roll is at least one minimum.
Your dice.
Yeah. Always. No, damage, one dice. And we go, okay, I hit you for 3, and he says, I'm gonna roll for armor or defense. Well, we know you're getting at least 1. So, or if we get 1 damage, it's always like, well, no matter, he's gonna negate it. It's always 1 shield pops up, no matter what.
Yeah.
So
the spread of the dice are quite, it's you've got a better chance of hitting depending, and the Pegasuses give you that extra spread, gives you that extra range. That's why they're on there, and going forwards we'll use them more and more because we'll start to use them to unlock, buff different things, different abilities. So that's the idea with them.
Nice.
It gives you something a bit extra on the dice.
Okay, good. So the Pegasi guys are going to get stronger. That's good. We like that. I love that. I love the critical damage where you could follow up. I think that like Ancient Warriors, you cut a guy in half and it's like you get that blood up and you get, yes, and you should be able to, you get a free move or free attack. I think that in all games should be that way. But it doesn't happen often. You got to get a critical damage. But I love that.
Totally.
Yeah. Because without
and you're right, and you hit the nail absolutely on the head. It is that bloodlust. And the adrenaline kicks in, and they just all at that moment they feel invincible and off they go.
Right. Yeah. Usually though, for me especially, the next one, the free one's usually just getting into combat and standing there because I never do anything. It's just the way it is. All right. So now the real thing that we love, right? The omen cards. All right.
Yeah.
Well, they're either an omen card or they're oman cards because the gods are so fickle, and well, he always gets good buffs. I always get the one like, your Locago's, he gets a +1 to defense, but he can't move. It's like I get that card every game, and it's. But
the gods are obviously smiling on him, aren't they? Not you. you might need to sacrifice something before the game.
I can't. If I sacrifice the firstborn, I got nobody to play with. So it's I'm stuck with him. But what I like about the omen cards is a lot of games, other games have done something like that. Like the one that really comes to mind is we used to play Mars Attacks, Mantic's Mars Attacks, and their thing was like, oh, there's a burning cow. Or there's this, and Ronnie said it's the wacky part of it. I like the fact that you took this and made it where something's going to happen, but it's like it's cool. Oh, it's foggy. Everybody's can't see. -1, or it's really bad. It's not silly. It's like that sucks, but all right, I get it. Oh, the omen. The eagles are flying the wrong way. We can't do. It makes sense. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, we actually, that's from research. Some of that, it started with the idea that we were reading around the subject, for playtesting and stuff. Because what I didn't like was when we started, you drew an omen pebble because they're great to have in the bag because that not knowing when your turn's going to end is. It makes you make some decisions.
Right.
But when you drew an omen pebble and there was nothing happening, it was a disadvantage. It was like miss a go. So that's where the omen cards came from. And then we wanted to really make them fit in with the game. So we just went back and read these things, and there's stories of battles happening where they do rock up, and the eagle flies the wrong way across the battlefield, and they go, "That's a bad omen." Turn around and go home.
Yeah.
And it actually happened.
Yeah.
So that's where they started, and then after that, we could just make some up and add them in, and that's where it came from. But the whole thing was to add to that flavour, and they're a good bit for me too, and I also think what makes the omen cards is the illustrations.
Yes,
and they were Steve Beckett. He really drew those and added added the flavour to them, I think.
Yeah. No, it's all between the rule book, between the artwork in the rule book. Andrew's hoping to be a designer, so he picks apart the rule book. So, right. What did you think of like the Mortal Gods, the rule book and stuff?
I look in the rule book and I'm like, oh, I like how this is laid out. I like where this is. I like how that is, and I look at it and I'm like, man, this is a really nice rule book,
So now, Andy, you can sleep at night that Andrew approves of
that's very
your
kind.
rule book,
But I'll be honest, and having your approval's good. That's a big thing for me. But I have guys who are very good at that sort of thing who do it for me.
Right.
It wasn't me. I just hand over a Word document.
Right.
And the guys take that and they lay that out.
Yeah.
So there's a real skill in that. I mean, we go through it, and funny enough, I've got it here. I'm just going through this is the Barons War printout at the moment, so I'm going through and annotating it. So you go backwards and forwards quite a lot, but knowing that at the end, when someone like yourself, Andrew, has got it, and you like it, that's a big thumbs up for me.
And because sometimes you get a rule book and you can't find anything. It's not laid out correctly, or it's like sometimes they almost try to grasp the sun, and it just it doesn't happen. But and plus it's a small book, and you got some and what's nice is you don't have to write any fluff. It's already been written.
Yes,
So but I did like like with the Spartan Athens extension, there's really, when you think about it, there's a page of extra stuff. All the rest was I was reading about this and the story with Mayanos or Androkonos, and it's just a history lesson, really. And what's the difference of me reading about the Primarchs? I might as well read about the real it's the same thing.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And again, going back to where my background is, it's a Games Workshop. That's what I liked about Games Workshop books, but because they have to create their history and their background, there's a lot of it.
Yes.
So, and you're exactly right. A lot of it is taken from historical references. Mm-hmm. And I know that for a fact, having had many conversations with the designers while I worked there.
Right.
So, even though, for instance, 40K has moved on so far, it's still kept the story of Cain and Abel.
Right.
That's where it is. So they just drawn that from there, and the Primarchs, you can go and trace all the names of the Primarchs if you start picking it apart.
Right.
So and I don't say that like a bad thing. I say it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a real rich history, and with historical gaming, that's what I like about it. I'm not really dogmatic about history, and it has to be like this. Mm-hmm. You can't have a War of the Roses night in 13th century England because the armour or whatever, that's the thing would change. However, I've no issue with you. If you and I were playing a game and you created a bunch of your own guys with their own background, as long as we have a good game and it's fun.
Right. See, that's what I was going to ask you. So we started historicals, which was a test. Our first foray into historicals was Test of Honor, and I remember getting on the website, and Graham was there, and we were speaking stuff. And do you have a problem with? So all right, let's say the samurai would never fight the Spartans. It just never happened. Or let's say Athenians and Vikings. I don't know. I mean, they might have, but I don't know about it. Or let's say the Persians and Aztec warriors or whatever, right? Because when I started getting to historicals, and I was like, oh, I painted my samurai this way. Well, you really shouldn't have done that because orange was not a viable color, or they never had a green top coat, or the lacquer was always either red or blue. Or if I'm gonna play you, I wouldn't play you because during the Meiji Restoration, they didn't have the flintlock weapon. It makes my head hurt. And I'm like, all right, well, let's get down to it. Who could win, the Spartans or samurai? Well, like elite warriors. Now, obviously, we're not going to take the Navy SEALs versus, a Lokagos of, say, Spartans. But, but like within the realm of, how do you feel about that as a historical guy? I'd like to see like I want to talk about Baron's Wars. A guy on horseback with plate armor, how would he fare against the samurai, or how would he fare against a phalanx of Athenians?
Yeah,
Because
I think there's two sides to this. One is I think there's a group, and I'm not saying a particular group, but there's people within historical wargaming who do historical wargaming to simulate,
mm-hmm.
The battles of history, and that's fantastic, and everything has to be in a particular way, and they want it to be historically accurate,
mm-hmm.
and I applaud that. That's fantastic,
right.
And if that's what people want to do, that's brilliant. I will look at that and I will draw from that because, I still think if you're going to set a game within a genre or within a period, you need to respect that period.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say Test of Honor is historically accurate,
right?
As a game, but it's drawn from history, and all the weapons are pretty accurate for that period, and the names and the types of warriors that have been included in there are accurate for that period.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an historical game, but I a lot of the hardcore historical people would call that maybe like a historical light game or a tabletop game or that kind of thing. And you know what? I'm absolutely cool with that.
Yeah.
Because I get to play Samurai and I get to play Samurai in a way that I enjoy playing it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't say that I wouldn't enjoy playing, refighting Sekigahara, with hundreds and hundreds of samurai in a painfully recreated battlefield with all the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to spend my hobby time doing that. That's not what I would get excited about. So, and I respect that. So that's fine. I have an issue with this group of people telling me if I shouldn't play my hobby in that way.
Right.
I'm happy to listen to people telling me what's right or wrong, and I go on lots of forums, I'm in lots of groups on Facebook to go and pull historical knowledge. However, the first thing for me when I'm playing a game or writing a game is I want the game to be fun, I want it to be tactical, and I want to enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else for me goes around that, So that's one side of it. Refighting, different warriors against different warriors. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not?
Right.
If it's going to be fun, why not? I think the challenge you have with historical games by doing that is, I'm talking from my own point of view. I haven't written Mortal Gods to include Vikings or Samurai or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be very, when you're working out the mechanics and balancing the forces, it would be very different to bring them in.
Right.
And make that work. However, if you were writing a game, a skirmish game where the whole premise of the game was, let's take all of these great archetypes from history and put them all in together and see how they fare, and you're balancing the mechanics and the rules of the game for those types, then why not?
Right.
Why not? Why not? If you want to fight a War of the Roses knight in his plate mail against a samurai with a katana, why not? But the game should be structured to allow that to happen,
right.
I think.
That sounds like a good time to me, man. And
yeah, why not?
And I tried to, I get, an hour later, I'm mad at myself that I get drawn into these because it was like, it was Test of Honor. One of the guys was saying about like, well, during, if it was me, I would not let you play it because they didn't have this, or like the naginata. And you know what I hate too is when they're wrong. And what I mean, I don't want to, but it's like, well, the naginata was a women's weapon. Well, no, it wasn't. No, well, it was. No, well, I took, but when I was doing Yagyu Shinkageru, there was the whole 12 kata with the naginata. The only reason it was given to the women is because it was lighter and it had a longer range. So the women used that.
It suited what they wanted them to use. They picked a weapon that would work.
Right, but traveling across the battlefield, there was armies with the naginata. So and then but I don't like. Well, during the before the Meiji Restoration, it was like this and that. And well, at that time we couldn't do it, but you'd have to maybe do it. And let's say the Aztecs were still fighting with the slings and arrows and stuff, but at the time in Japan they had a democracy and I mean a feudal system, whatever. Yeah. But you can kind of figure. I would like to see all right. I got a whole mess of Viking miniatures. Let's see if they can fight the Spartans. Let's I don't know why, or like even tank games. The Japan never fought Germany, but I'd like to see that what would happen within the realm of the game. There's no. I'm glad you're the same thing. Hey, whatever. If you want to have fun, do whatever you want. You want to grab some Space Marines and put them against samurai, go ahead. As long as it works.
I think you just agree, don't you, that that's what you're doing, and if someone doesn't want to do that, then that's fine too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah, man.
To argue about all of that, really.
Yeah.
And also, but there's a flip side to this as well. It's accepting when I'm quite happy to accept when I'm wrong.
Yes.
So I'm quite happy to go there and have a discussion, and I'll say this, and someone says, "Oh, that's not true." And it's like, "Oh, great, brilliant! I've learned something."
Right.
And but the social media is a brilliant thing, I think, but it's also a real curse. And what it does is it's allowed a lot of us to talk and connect and discuss gaming, and we all like to do that here in Hobby. Unfortunately, there's lots of different people in the world, and the way that they are, and the filters that they have, and all of that kind of thing.
Right.
And and also they're from different countries and different social etiquette in different countries. So sometimes it's very difficult to be communicating, and we're all on the same page, I think, as well. At the end of the day, when it comes to gaming, I write games that I want to play. And I have a group of guys I play with, and we all play in the same way. Right. And we're very open, and we'd like people to come and play, and we do all of that stuff, and it's all cool. However, I know I'm very aware there's other people playing other ways, and that's cool too. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's as many people who like Test of Honor or Mortal Gods or the Barons War when it comes, or whatever else. As many people who like it, there'll be people who hate it.
Yeah. You can't click everybody's boxes. You just can't.
No, absolutely. So someone said something to me the other day. I mentioned last night, actually. It's like people who write music. If I was a musician and I wanted to write music, to please people, what would I write? Musicians write the music that they feel or they enjoy, and they sing about things that they care about. And their fans, or the people who like their music for that. And I think it's the same when you create any sort of creative. You attract like-minded people, mm-hmm. and and there'll be people who don't like you, and the people who hate you, and there's people who doubt you. But I don't have personally.
Yeah. Well, we have the 2 rule system that we use. Yeah. So me and you have a discussion, and we might not disagree. But rule number 1 is don't be a dick. And rule number 2 is always remember rule number 1, and you can never go wrong. Totally. Well, you know what? You made a good point. I don't agree with it, but whatever. So but I think that comes with wisdom. It comes with the age and wisdom, because I hate people who fight about things that really just don't matter. It's like that would never happen. All right, well, I don't care. We're having when you think about it, we're just having it's a game. We're having fun. So just shut up and roll some dice, man. It's just that's what really it comes down to. But then again, like you said, you wrote Test of Honor, which the rule set is solid. It makes that much more enjoyable, and it makes it easier for us to enjoy the game, because there's no too many clinks or whatever. I mean, we have issues, but we can work through those issues. And if anything, with us, is roll a test of courage and figure it out.
Yeah, great.
So now. Yes, sir. Oh.
We have some people in the chat that are here. We got Eagle Cott, we got Johnny Grogan, we got Beetle, we got Chris Larson. We have about 10 people watching. Beetle does say, though, graphic design is an underappreciated necessity for games. which I agree in. And then also he says, when designing your game, you consider your audience. Are you designing for the, what does it say, rivet?
Designing for the
rivet counters.
Rivet counters. Or for a more general, let's just play audience, which, of course, Beetle is talking about the truth.
Yeah, we kind of covered that. I think if you're going to do historical gaming, you have to appreciate the rivet counters and be aware of that. However, you know, rule of cool every time for me. I know it's cross.
Hell yeah.
It's rule of cool. You know, that's the kind of games I want to play. So I design or rules, etc. for the audience that we have. You know, and but again, you know, it's like we were just saying. I try and be historically accurate as I can, but I'm not dogmatic about it. And if I think it would, it's fun and simplicity over painstaking realism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the trade-off. I will go for fun and simplicity every time,
right?
But it has to have the right historical flavour. You know, like we're talking about Test of Honor or Hoplites. Hoplites, for instance, in Mortal Gods have to feel like Hoplites. You know, otherwise you may as well play any game. You know, it's not right. And the same, you know, in Test of Honor and in the Barons War as well. You know, if you're going to call this person a knight, you're going to call this person a samurai. They have to play in the game and act as if that's what they are.
Right. Right.
You know, but you know, he's a full. I play a figure and he looks cool. He's 99% right, but you know, maybe his helmet's a bit later than for the period. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Who's to say that's not the first guy to ever wear that helmet? He was the trendsetter.
Well, also, it was something the other day which made me laugh. I shared a piece of artwork from Medieval Warfare. And it was a cover, and it was set in a certain period. And there were some guys with round shields and a guy holding his sword in two hands. Mm-hmm. And guys were coming on and saying, no, they didn't have two-handed weapons in that period. They didn't have round shields. And I didn't say anything. I just let them get on with it. Mm-hmm. And then some guy came on later on. He said, yeah, you know, because in 1217 or whatever, you know, the style police came round. He said, right, give us all your round shields. You can't use them anymore. You have to use heater shields. Of course it didn't happen.
Right.
You know, they used whatever they had.
Yeah.
You know, predominantly they moved towards heater shields or whatever, or, you know, the particular knightly shield that you have. But I'm sure some people still had a round shield, and, you know, maybe the sword is designed for using in one hand, which it was. But, you know, why wouldn't he hold it in two hands for the odd? You know, it can go too far.
You mean to tell me in the history of everything, no one has ever used two hands on a one-handed sword for a chop? You know, for a killing blow or something like that, or maybe the dominant arm is damaged, so he's using the less dominant hand to be a counterlever and to help him out or maybe he's just tired because the night before his wife kicked him in the arm and he's tired and you got to use two. It doesn't make sense for every, you know. But you know what I've seen though, I hate this in all games. All right, well that's not how this happened, or that, but then again, it's a game. You cannot recreate life. You can get close, but you're not going to, you know. Maybe I woke up with a hangover, and now we're going into battle, and you know, stuff happens. But you'll never recreate it 100%. But you know, as long as it's like you said, as long as it's fun and it's solid, you know, you still have to have good rules though. You have to. Because of a game,
and you have to respect history.
Yes.
Don't get me. You know, just a part you can't see, but I've got a pile of history books here like this on the side of my desk. The majority of them are on the Crusades and Outremer and the Kingdoms of Jerusalem, because that's what I'm reading about at the moment.
Right.
And I will devour as much as I possibly can on that subject. You know, because I want to understand it, you know, while we're writing it. And maybe that's why, you know, when we take that and we do it like the Barons War. I've got virtually like half a library on books around the Barons War, you know, which I've devoured. But, you know, the amount of that's gone into the rules is very, very small amount.
Right.
But maybe that's what we do. We can take that and we can distill it into something that's simple. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And then you could add stuff in next editions. Say, I always wanted to do this, but we're not ready. And then through years of play testing, feedback, and whatever, you're like, oh, now we're ready to do this. You know?
So you're right. And I tell you what's really interesting as well. I think Games Workshop are the cause of this, the causation for it.
Mm-hmm.
But you play their sci-fi game 40k. That's it, with the same miniatures and everything has to be like that. Any game that I've ever released, I've never said that's the definitive samurai game, or that's the definitive ancients game, or that's the definitive, medieval game.
Right.
It's a game in that period. So I'm not trying to challenge the what's out there, or the norm, or shake it up. What we're trying to do is, like we say, bring a fun game out for people to play, and you play it if you want or not, and we'll create a community around that, and we'll support it and move it forwards.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I struggle with it a bit, in that respect, because it means a lot to me, history, because otherwise I wouldn't play historical games.
Right.
But not enough to get bent out of shape about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Beetle does say that he never remembers rule number 1.
Yeah, well, it is true. It is true, Beetle. You always break rule number 1 and 2. So, but we have any questions or?
Well, we do have Mr. and Mrs. Wargaming here. We got still 10 people watching.
Yeah, Johnny's here. What's up, Johnny? Beetle's a long time. This is and Chris Eagle Cott is here. Chris Larson. So he's like a lot of guys that have been around family gamers, because we played a lot of Dead Zone, but now as our foray out, it's kind of cool to bring this different aspect, And
if you guys got questions, you can put them in the chat, and we'll touch on them later.
Yeah. Well, now's the time. The guy's here. You can't, you got to put up or shut up now. So Andrew has a question. You want to ask that question, or should I ask it for you?
All right, so the head injury card, okay? is it like, am I like just bound to get it every time? Because every game I have played, it's like I think out of like the 7 out of like 10 of the games we played, I have drawn that card. Like the one game we played, we lost the game because it was like you gotta kill the samurai. I was like, okay, I gotta take an injury. Oh, okay, head injury. That's great. Are you ever gonna take that out of the game?
No, I don't. Don't take that out. We have it on tape where the first game we taped, the battle report, came down to the end. Right, it was the last Lacagos, and he needed to make one shield, and he gets it. I'm like, all right, great, but he passed his test of courage. He got it. All right, great. And I said, oh, wait, I forgot. You got to pull the card because it was still new to us. Oh, my God, he pulled. And then I was like, all right, if you remember, I was surrounded. And I went for broke, and I went right at him. And I had a monster roll. And then he pulls the card, and that was it. And it was like he had like 3 phalanxes, three phalanx bases, and archers on me. I had 1 phalanx base and I think my machos. And that was it, man. I just head injury, brother. And that was it. So don't take that out, whatever you do. Because I never pull it.
Well, I'll tell you what, even if I was considering taking it out, it's staying in there.
Yeah, no. You couldn't. You could never take it out, But Andy, man, when am I going to get my war elephants?
Oh, yeah. Well, funny enough, we are testing them at the moment.
Okay.
So, the next 2 sets that we're doing, we need to add the Thebans and the Boeotians and the Thespians. Mm-hmm. So that will become as a deck. They've all been done and play tested. I just need to free Steve, back it up to draw them.
Okay.
That's the next thing, and those cards will be done.
Right.
And then we have a deck of cards which really is it's all the extra bits that we have already that we haven't released, like the Greek cavalry and some of the heroes and some Persian heroes and war elephants and that kind of thing. So that's those are going to be the next 2 that come out, and in there'll be a whole bunch of new gifts as well.
Okay.
So that should take us into into 2021. I'd love to release at least one of those before the end of the year. Those decks, hopefully two.
Right.
So, but we've got Mythic. You know, the Mythic general release will be out next month. So that's the next thing that's coming, and we're started to have heroes made as well. So there's still a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know, more to God. So yeah, there's plenty coming.
So now we unfortunately it's one of those things that I kicking myself because I missed the Mythic Kickstarter. I would have loved to back it and do it.
Yeah.
But so now, how do you explain to historical people that might have to fight a Hydra or a Medusa or something, or or Zeus himself? But so where did that come from?
I think if you're going to do a ancient Greek game, you have to do the mythic element of it. You just have to, because we all know, and again, it's very Harryhausen, I was going to say Sinbad, but it's not Sinbad. Clash of the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The first time round. Again, that's something that I have a real fondness for, because I remember watching them, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So we had to add it all in. So the way that it works is you can take your ordinary low cost as it is, and you can just fight that against a low cost full of mythical creatures. You don't even have to change, and they'll fight. Again, we balance the points quite well, I believe.
Okay.
For about 12 months of playtesting, where your normal Greeks can fight a mythical low cost and it'll be fine.
Okay.
But what we've done as well is we've introduced heroes, so you can take Heracles, you can take Perseus, you can take Odysseus, I think is in there. We got Jason and the Argonauts, etc. So you can add those as well to your normal low cost to lead them, and fight a mythical low cost. So obviously you have to have a Hydra, you have to have a Cyclops, because they're all of the creatures from the myths.
Right.
So, and do you know what? I don't. When you're asking how am I going to explain, I don't really need to. Do you know why? Because the number one thing that we were asked for as soon as we released Mortal Gods was, when are you going to do mythic creatures?
Right.
Number one thing. So that's it would have been remiss not to.
Yeah. I'm just busting balls, but I understand. But
yeah, of course.
It's hard because we haven't gotten there. I'm waiting for the release so we can get them. But it's like I'm glad it's like the mechanic is there for Mortal Gods, which we know is solid. And but like how would Mayanos fight Zeus? It's like but if you do
the gods don't actually come down. So what you have is you have priests that. They work like your low costs.
Okay.
So they, you can. There's a couple of ways you can use the creatures. There's a ruling that you can add. That's my dog barking. If you can hear me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You can have the Hydra on the table as like an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
So you can add that to your scenario, and when you draw an omen pebble, the person who draws it gets to move it and use it.
Oh, okay.
So that adds that element to it. Or you can have it, or you can have your Hydra in your force, as part of your force. So that's the way it works.
Okay.
Leonis is pretty tough. We know he's pretty tough, and his failing is that he'll always fight.
Right.
So Leonis would be against most of the heroes are probably at the same level as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just a little bit higher, but not much. But what makes the mythic bit different is they have what's called mythic defense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a creature that is mythical or a hero, you always get to roll on mythic defense if someone's wounded you who isn't mythical.
Okay.
So that's the kind of like the trade-off, really. So. Unfortunately, Leonis, he every time he gets hit, he can't save. He's gonna take damage. However, Jason, on the other hand, he would, even if he hasn't got actions to defend with, he will always get a chance to save against non-mythical creatures.
Okay.
So that's what makes them mythical, really.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't sound much, but when you're in the game,
no,
their staying power, it really changes it.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you know, a guy shoots an arrow at Jason, but he has some kind of thing about him, you know, like let's say a magical force field that he can use. It makes sense, you know.
Yeah, it's like having an invulnerability save,
Right.
you know, as a Space Marine Terminator, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. However, if you're mythical and against a mythical creature, then that's different.
Yeah, and all bets are off.
It's kind of yeah.
So then there comes the strategy. As I build my list, I have to make sure that I have to account for the mythical, the non-mythical, and you know, all right, well, I'm taking mostly Spartans, but I got to get a few of these guys, and maybe take 2 heroes just in case to deal with that. So that goes back to that's good old-fashioned list building wargaming. If you build a crappy, you build a crappy list, that's on you. That's then
of course.
Build a better list.
And that's where playtesting comes down, isn't it? You try out all of the different options that you can.
Oh,
you know, but what we have also included in Mythic is there is a gift where, excuse me, you can gift one of your normal heroes Mythic defense if you pay the points. So it's like Zeus has blessed them for the battle, you know, which happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, or you look in the bush and there's this beautiful sword that all of a sudden shows up, or
a shield,
or a mechanized owl might even help you. If you know.
Yes.
I love the latest version, you know, the later version of Clash of the Titans, and then they pull up Bubo, and he's like, no, just don't even leave that aside, you know. So, you know, that was, you know what it was. As I was painting up, the Mortal God stuff. I'm like, all right, let me look, and I watched 300, I watched Rise of an Empire, and then I watched the old Clash of the Titans, but then I was like, I got to watch the new one, and you know, back to back.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, we should get big scorpions too, man. Like those dust guys or whatever. That, you know, put it like me. I'm all in, man. Put everything in there, you know. So.
We've started making some more monsters, you know. Okay. So we released what we did. So we got Trish Morrison is Trish Cardan now. She's making Cerberus at the moment, and we'll start to go back and we'll start to add to what we have. Yeah. So we picked the core ones first. Yeah. And there's more on the way.
Yeah, a buddy of mine is just like, he's like, no matter what, I'm getting the Minotaur. I'm going to play, you know, build everything around the Minotaur. He says he just wants, I don't care. I'm playing a Minotaur. So
it's lovely. That Minotaur is beautiful. Yeah. You know, it's really good size as well.
Right.
You know, so I haven't actually got one yet. Really? Funny enough. I keep asking for one, and I haven't got one.
You got to pull rank, man. You got to start, you know.
Yeah. Well, they all the ones that we made went out for the Kickstarter, so we made sure that everybody got theirs first.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe it's about time I got one.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you want, I know a website, Footsore Miniatures. You could just order one for yourself. And,
awesome. Thank you.
Do a pre-release. You guys got to put that up, man. I want to see, because I know I've been going back to Kickstarter and seeing everything on Facebook, but I don't know what I want to order because it's not up there yet.
Well, I think it's going. There you go. It's going up on Sunday. I think. Funny enough, on pre-order. So I think it's pre-ordered this Sunday and released late October.
Okay.
We'll be shipping. So you'll get to see it very soon.
And we can. And so us Yanks over here, we could do it through Tim's site, or do we have to go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tim's gonna have it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we're waiting for that because it's like, but you see, like with me, it works out good because I'm like, you know what, I want to try to beat the Mythic guys with just the Spartans, and Andrew and Hot Dice. We call him Hot Dice because you know when you call like a tall guy slim, you know, shorty. So Hot Dice, he's like he's the Minotaur guy, but he's going to build everything around the Minotaur, and I thought the Mythic is cool, but for me, the warriors, like how can, you know, the ultimate hero story? How did, you know, Perseus overcome all that? Or, you know, like how can Mayanos go across the field and, you know, beat everybody up? Maybe I take a Mythic guy just, you know, for backup, but how can the men, you know, beat?
Take some gifts, take some gifts for the Spartans, that'd be fine.
Yeah. You know, that's to me, that's the way, you know, the way in my mind how it should go. Now, these guys want to do Hydras and Cyclopses and Minotaur. Awesome. Because I'm going to kill them anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's the way I think, you know.
Oh, the both of those, the Cyclops has got a couple of great abilities. He can throw rocks.
Uh-huh.
So it actually goes through units. So you actually have a cannon shot.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right.
And the Hydra has the poison gas, and obviously as you take the wings off, it loses its heads, but it gets an opportunity to regenerate them.
Okay.
At the end of each turn, you roll the number of heads you've lost, and I think it's on a Pegasus, the head grows back. So yeah, it's good.
Well, it doesn't matter because you're going to roll one shield anyway, so it doesn't matter. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the Hydra's a Pegasi guy.
Hydra is a Pegasus.
Yeah. That's great. So, all right. So we basically covered like what's next for Mortal Gods. That's great. So now.
Well, the last thing we haven't mentioned for the non-mythical people, all the stuff that's missing, like Persian chariots, the Egyptian marines, they've all been commissioned now.
Okay.
So they'll be along shortly. Now, all the gaps will be filled.
Now, is that going to be through Vitrix, or is that through Footstore, or like?
It'll be through Footstore, yeah.
Okay.
Footstore, yeah.
Yeah. So it's in a way it's like kind of like the thing you did with Warlord with Test of Honor. It was like, all right, Vitrix got this thing, and we'll throw a few heroes in there, but it works. It works. The range is already there. So
why make figures that are already out there?
Right. You could, but you're gonna shoot your wallet. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. I got to tell you, the best thing that happened to me. We have this. We call it the Messy Hobby Shop by us, and you have to dig for stuff. But I got an old War Games Factory 12 mounted samurai, which is basically the same mounted samurai, but I paid $12 for it. It was 12, so they were $1 a piece, and I was like, I found that the thing was messed up, the box was ripped, and I opened it, and the screws were in there, and I was like, how much? He goes, it's $12.99.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, man. I'm out. So, but it's the same range, but it's great too. The Vitrix models you couldn't go wrong because they got
lovely.
I was playing painting the sculpts and stuff, and as I look at them, they're great for what they are. They're not purity seals and this. It's a dude with a toga on, maybe with a javelin, or he has a shield, or the hoplites. I mean, everything is great, and then the Footsore stuff brings that to the next level.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog's just come in. He just stuck his nose in. Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Again, though, the problem is you could make. We're talking about the historical side of things. Mm-hmm. You could make the most beautiful historical miniatures, but people in historical gaming don't want to pay the price for them.
Right.
They in their head, an historical miniature is £1.50, or $2, and that's what they'll pay for miniature.
Right.
So it's really difficult. I want to make beautiful, beautiful historical miniatures, but then obviously if you work with the top sculptors or whatever, you pay the price.
Right.
But that's the only, if you ask me I'm preempting you, what frustrates me about historical wargaming, that frustrates me.
Right. But you know what? Listen, if you're in the wargaming hobby and you don't think you're going to spend any money, then you should go like I don't know, collect baseball cards or something. You have there's listen, some guys are outrageous. We could both agree that, and like you said too. All right, so now we agree that Mortal Gods has a solid rule set. But if you got crap miniatures, then nobody's going to really want to play it. And on the other side, if you got beautiful miniatures and crap rules, there has to be a balance. You'll never make the perfect rule set, but you'll strive for it. But the miniatures you can make, you can make them beautiful. I mean, you've been around a long time. How many games do you know that you're like, oh man, look at those models, are great. Man, I tried that game. It's just not for me. But the models are beautiful.
Totally, it goes back to what the chap in the chat asked about design. It's that having someone graphic designers design your rules. I think you owe it to people. If you want someone to read your rules or play your games, you need to make nice looking rules and nice games. And it's the same with miniatures. You need to make nice miniatures. However, that isn't an excuse to write, a rubbish rule set.
Right. Well, then just release the minis.
Yeah, but unfortunately, what happens is people don't realise that. You don't realise how good a game is a lot of the time until you get the chance to play it. And by then, you've been seduced by lovely miniatures.
Right. And usually what happens is I like to paint them first, and then you're like, oh man, I spent a month painting these. Well, they're going up on the shelf, because God forbid I get rid of them. But I understand. So we got some questions.
Well, modeling for advantage is in here.
Oh,
in the chat,
my boys.
They said just started a Mortal Gods journey. Put paint on the first model today.
All right.
So
modeling for. Wait, hold on. Tell Andy modeling for advantage. How did you find out about Mortal Gods? we all know the answer. And Andy, he watched our video and then said, "Oh, I'm going to order it." I'm just putting it out there for you. So.
Good man. No, I appreciate your videos. They're awesome.
We love it, man. We love it. We appreciate you taking the time, sending us the stuff, and hopefully we've accomplished the goal.
Totally. Well, you know what? Just talking to you now, it shows me it has, because you enjoy playing the game. That's enough for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he did answer. He said that it was us.
Yeah, it was us. See, just now. Thank you. It's been documented for all prosperity and posterity.
Johnny Grogan says, "Thanks guys for making this happen. Really enjoying the battle reports." Dino Titan Edition says he has a really important question. He wants to know when we will see additional Tribali cards for the
Thracians.
Yes.
He said he will pay. He said he will pay more if he gets some miniatures for that.
He's hunting me down. I'm well aware of what he needs. I'm on it.
Oh, you're all right. So he's on it. You got it, Dino. He's on it.
And then the Hobby Habit is here. He says, may have bought a Mortal God starter set, a few heroes and such, due to all the FOG coverage. He says, I can neither confirm nor deny if that happened with Test of Honor as well.
Yeah, he got it to Test of Honor from us too. So, but that's okay. That's why we do the channel. And listen, I know the huge empire here, and we're independently wealthy from our YouTube money, which it's not. It's not. We both have jobs. Some of us have 2 jobs, but we do this for this. I get a job. We get to spread the word a little bit. I get to hang out with you and really play games. And that's all we really wanted to do with the channel. It's like, I talk to people like, boy, you guys must be raking in the money. Well, Andy sent us some models, and I'm good with that. I'm happy with that.
You guys can have anything you want.
Okay.
Just ask us.
All right, good. Well,
there you go. That's on camera as well.
Okay,
so
good.
There you go.
So I got a question from Facebook when I posted that we were going to do this. Hiroshi Darrow said, "Excellent. Please ask him when the Footsore Dark Agent unit deals will appear, and apologize for my persistence." And it's funny because I know you're laughing because this guy always asks the same question on the Facebook group.
He's a lovely chap.
Yeah.
This month, I think the guys at Footsore are just working them out.
Okay.
The idea that we were talking about this the other day, with everything that's going on, you alluded to it earlier when we were chatting about, the pandemic and COVID and all of this business. We've had, when it all started, we weren't sure how it would go, and we've had a lot of support from our community, within Footsore, etc. And it's been tough. It's been tough, and it's been ups and downs. But the guys they've stuck by us. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a deal on, with some unit deals, etc. to pay back really to the community. So it's coming, and we're going to do something really good, I think.
I'll tell you what, working from home, my hobby, I put a chunk in the pile of shame of all the stuff I got. So it really. Listen, this is a trying time for everybody, but you have to kind of we could bury our head in the sand or forge on ahead and try to find the silver lining.
Absolutely, and it helps. We're in a hobby business, so like you say, I've done so much hobby. I alluded to it the other day yesterday on Facebook. The Barons Wall rules have grown by 50 pages.
Right.
Since this, because I've had extra time to write more.
Well, we were trying to do this interview, and you're like, "I'm sorry, let's try it, but I'm working on Baron." All right, well, I got this, and then I watched you yesterday. You're like, "Well, the book was like 60 pages. Now it's 120." So, all right. But when inspiration strikes, you have to ride that wave. But guys, if you have questions for Mortal Gods in the chat right now,
Or anything.
Or
I'll
anything.
answer anything. Yeah.
Well, let's now. Here's the thing. I'm going to hit you with a question. All right, I play Mortal Gods. I dig it. I got Test of Honor, which you were with. We both love the game. Why do I got to play Baron's War? I mean, I got 2 really good games. Why do I got to play Baron's War? Sell me on Baron's War, homie. What's the deal with that? Although you know I'm interested, but I'm.
It's a very different game. I mean, if we're talking mechanics wise, again, when we started it was going to be we took the Mortal Gods game and we were going to stick knights and everything on top and whatever, and it's really changed. There is no blind draw, so it's still alternating turns, but you get to choose what you want to do.
Oh, nice.
And your opponent gets to react as well. So you're still using actions, but you're using them in a different way. There's no special dice. We're using D10.
Oh. Okay.
So, and the reason we're using D10 is just because it gives you a wider range of percentages.
Right.
So that works. Your units can be any size. So we've really opened that up because because you're having mounted knights, you want to have more guys in your unit. So we've really opened that up. There's a minimum. You have to have a minimum of 3 foot and minimum of 2 mounted, but you can have 10 guys on horse if you want. You can the actual. So let's take spearmen for instance. Your units you take a spearman, but there's like different classes of spearmen, so it depends on their experience. So you choose what experience you want, then you choose what armor you want to give them, and you choose what weapons you want to give them, etc., etc. So all of a sudden, every unit spearman in your force can be different. So we've kind of gone back a bit to the old days where it really, we're talking about army list building. This really is about list building.
Right.
Where, so every point you spend is quite key of how you spend it. So what that allows us to do is, and this is a big selling point for the Baron's War for me, is every single person's retinue can be different.
Right.
You can really, really personalise it. And how they're built is you build your individual groups, and they build up into your retinue.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those groups can have their own character. You can add leaders into them. You can add priests into them. You can really go to town on how you want that structure to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes the whole thing very interesting. The gameplay is very similar. You take turns to go. Mm-hmm. So it's not I move all mine, you move all yours. Okay. But like I said, you choose your activations. The command structure is still there. So you have command groups and you have a commander. He can give orders. So that still happens. And in the same way, you can only give one order per group. But they have to take a morale test to see if they'll actually do it.
Right.
There's a morale. The morale of your troops is quite important. So as you take casualties, your morale increases, your morale dice. And that then starts to affect your rolls and how you interact with each other. So, and that can go up and down, and it's affected by your commanders as well. So yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it. However, again, if you played Test of Honor, you played Mortal Gods, the overarching feel of the game will be very similar,
mm-hmm.
but everything is different.
Right.
If that makes sense,
yeah.
Everything is different. So.
See, because I was looking some of the pictures with the tokens. The tokens seem different, like with the other than the artwork, but like you was a bunch of tokens on the table.
Yeah.
And
if you take a pebble, like the Mortal Gods pebbles, it's the same kind of thing. So you'd activate by giving someone a white pebble to activate, or a token in Test of Honor. In this instance, you choose what you want them to do. So there's combat, there's defense, there's special abilities you can activate.
Mm-hmm.
There's broken, they can be rally, etc., etc. Combat can be hand to hand, it can be shooting. There's run, move token will allow you to do different things. So you're choosing what the action is. So you put this particular token down to show how they've activated. So that's really behind there. And there's some actions that you can only do once a round. So that's why they've got particular tokens, and there's certain tokens that do certain things.
Wow. That's cool. So now, how big? How big is it? A skirmish game, or is it a war game, or what's?
It's I'd still call it a skirmish game. It's not, and only because of differentiating between mass rank game,
right?
Like the new Oathmark or Warhammer, that kind of thing, Fantasy Battle. It's a skirmish game because there's guys around bases. However, you can play as small as 500 points, which will give you 15, 20 dudes on the table, or you can play 1,000 points, which will give you 30, 40 guys. You could play 2,000 points if you wanted, and there's a real spectrum. Obviously, the more guys you put on the table, the more units you'll have to activate, and because there's no omen type token in there, everybody moves,
right?
And so the more units you put on the table, the longer the game's going to take.
Right.
That's the only thing. The mechanics will work the same for whatever size game.
So it'll scale up nicely if you say.
Yeah. We play big games, small games, etc., etc. Also, though, we had to do it this way because if you're thinking about the period, if you've got a fully armoured knight on a horse, so he's full mail, lance, war horse, fully barded, he's going to be a lot of points and he's going to cause a lot of damage, and it would be very rare that knights would die.
Right.
So, but you're not going to get very many for your points. Mm-hmm. So, we have to balance that. You get one knight. I mean, you have a knight, or you can have about, 8 or 10 spearmen. That's kind of like the trade-off in the game.
Yeah.
So that's why the points can sink in. But, you don't have to take any knights at all if you don't want to.
Right.
So we've done that too. So if you want to refight Robin Hood, and have Robin Hood leading you guys, you can if you want to, fight an evil sheriff.
Right.
Which isn't historically accurate, I know.
Yeah, but whatever.
Or anybody says anything.
Yeah, but rule of cool. That's it.
Rule of cool. You can't do the Barons' War period without doing Robin Hood and King John.
Right. And then so that's you could hoard the border. You go elite. You have that option to do that.
Yeah.
Now is it? I know historically with the barons, like Baron A over here was rich. So his guys were very well, he had a would you call it an army or whatever?
It's a retinue.
Okay.
So they would have a household. So a very rich baron would have a cadre of elite troops around him, and the reason being why his would be bigger because he would have to pay for them all.
Right.
And support them. That was all. But also, they used a lot of mercenaries at the time as well. Mm-hmm. So they would have to pay for those too. So, the richer you are, the better troops you can have.
Right.
So, but there's that whole feudalism, and it was structured in that way that, a baron was only someone who was gifted some land. Mm-hmm. And it went all the way back to William the Conqueror. So when William the Conqueror came in 1066, the head of this, Norman army, when he won at Hastings, everybody thinks, oh, right, we're all Norman now. It took 10 years of strife afterwards, really, for him to conquer England. But in his head, when he landed and he won at Hastings, he owned England.
Right.
So how he controlled that was he carved it up to his barons, and he gave them all some land and titles. But he still, in his head, he still owned it all. They were like caretakers. Mm. So that relationship then, here's some land, but I'm giving you land because you have to come and fight for me.
Right.
And then a baron, if he was an important baron, he'd have a bigger piece of land. He could carve that up and create, barons below him, which would be knights, or landowners, and they would, have to come and fight for him, and that was the feudalism of it.
Right.
So we kind of tried to structure that in the game, so how you build your retinue is around, those types of troops. So that's what we added in.
Right. Listen, it sounds interesting. What's the forecast on, say a release? I know you have the Kickstarter. What's like say a release? I know I'm. If you don't have it,
I don't mind you asking. The book will hopefully go to the printers next month.
Okay.
So the aim is hopefully to have a printed book back with us at the end of October. Mm-hmm. Kickstarter will be the second. It's the second one. We've done one already, so there's a lot of those guys already available on the back from the first Barons Wall. They're available already for the futsal. The futsal will stock the second lot of this Kickstarter next year.
Okay.
Because we need to fulfil all of the Kickstarter first. But the idea is to have it all shipped before the end of this year, and we're well on target to do that.
So now, by having the Kickstarter, that gives you an availability of having the stuff to go into retail, right? Is that the whole point?
Yeah. Well, how it came about, the Barons War Kickstarter, it's the first Kickstarter I've ever done. When we started futsal, this was the Barons War was a period I really wanted to do. So some of the first figures, Mark and I, who runs futsal, who I own it with, the first range we wanted to release was the Barons War. Because one of my big heroes from history is a guy called William Marshall, who is called the Greatest Knight, and he of that period. And I know Paul Hicks really well, the sculptor. So we got Paul Hicks to start creating this range of Barons War figures just to release through Futsal Miniatures. But then Gangs of Rome came, and then Mortal Gods came, and these were opportunities that we just rode. So the Barons War had to go to the back.
Right.
And last year, I said me and Mark had a meeting, and I said, look, I want to do the Barons War stuff. And he said, yeah, me too, but we can't fit them in. We're not going to be able to fit them in because we've got these other things to do. And I then just went, right, I'm going to do it myself. And then I thought how I was going to do it. So I spoke to Paul, and I said, Paul, why don't you, because we're good mates, I said, why don't we do a Kickstarter together? So, being in that situation where Paul sculpted all the miniatures, and I didn't have to pay him, which was great, because we were working, it was really good, and because it was a joint Kickstarter with him and I,
right.
And I did the Kickstarter where we talked about rules, and it allowed us to do it. So, having Futsal to be able to manufacture and ship it out. Futsal is charging, it's funny, Futsal is charging me the going rate to fulfill my Kickstarter. So Paul and I are paying him to do that. So, and as part of that, I still own the Barons Wall range of figures, but, Futsal sell it, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And that's how it came. But, it's really a Paul Hicks and Andy Hobday production. That's what it is, and it's that blurred line really because I'm involved with futsal.
Right. Hey,
but it'll all be available.
As long as it comes out and it works, whatever works.
Absolutely, yeah, no, totally. And when we have a printed copy of the book, I'll send you one.
Excellent. Yeah.
So you'll be next month probably, early November at the latest.
Awesome. Anything with Warriors, we were talking before we still went live. Anything with Warriors, man. A sword and a shield, I'm good.
Yeah, you and Mark will get on really well because Mark's about the same. Anything with a sword and shield, that's what he likes.
I think it would be good if we could do this again. We get Mark and all the guys together. But I think the shine from the head might be too much on one screen. So we have to maybe put put a thing, get them heads apart. The energy might be, So, yeah, yes, sir.
We have a couple of questions.
Nice.
from some people. Modeling for Advantage asks about the models in the main set. Are the models with molded cuirasses intended to be heavy and the leather medium?
Yes. Yes. Medium more for me would be helmet, shield, and I think it's cotton. It's a light stiffened cotton.
The linen.
I'm showing being really, really not cool with it, aren't I? But that it's like Kevlar.
Mm-hmm.
The stiffened material. So don't be under any illusion that the bronze is any stronger than the actual material version. It was just an age thing. However, visually, helmet, armour, shield, heavy.
Right.
helmet, shield, medium, really. No helmet, shield, light. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
All right, and we got another question from the Hobby Habit. He says, it's hard to buy individual units. Like, I could really use Slinger as my starter came with Archers. Any chance of buying those core starter units as single units?
Slingers? Yeah, we can look into that. Yeah, I'll speak to Mark about that.
Okay, cool.
I have a thing. You get a 2 Locagos, right? You get a Locagos and Locagos. So in your band, like I could take Mayanos, I could take a Locagos, and I could take a Promachos. But you only give me 2 45 bases. Shouldn't the Promachos be on a bigger base, or is it only for the leaders?
Yeah, they should all be on the hero bases. All the heroes should be on the 32 mil base.
Right, the bigger base, not the one that could fit into the tri bases.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should have more, yeah.
Okay.
Dino Titan Edition has a couple questions. He wants to know if he's going to see any mythic battle reports on the channel anytime soon.
That's a good question.
We can facilitate that.
Oh, see,
we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
And then he says he has another question. He says, lately I feel the standard of army sizes has met at 400 points, while earlier I had the feeling it was around 300. What did you feel was the best size to play at? Where was the most interesting stuff happened in the game didn't become tedious lengthwise?
Yeah, when we started playtesting, we playtested 300, which for me was a spit. The 300. It was meant to be quite funny.
Right.
Not we're here, but that was the whole idea. Let's have 300 points value for your force.
Right.
So that's where it was. But what we found was with 300 points, you have to leave some stuff out. And it makes the choice really difficult. So, speaking to the community, they kind of all moved it to 400 points. That's where they like to play. So, if we were saying a standard force, I would say 400 points.
Mm-hmm.
However, when Mythic starts playing Mythic, that will move to 500, and we've said that in the rulebook to include the monsters.
Okay.
Do
you make the board bigger? Do you still 3x3, or should you make it bigger?
Still 3x3.
Okay.
Yeah. We played 1,000 points. That's fine. You could probably go a bit further, but I think. I don't think it's tedious. I just think it will last longer. So if you're playing Mortal Gods as a game, which is a fast skirmish game where you want to play it an hour and a half, I really wouldn't go over 500-600 points.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to make an afternoon of it, 1,000 points, 1,200 points, anything after that, I don't think the game is modelled for that. Mm-hmm. I think you can still play it; it works, but I don't think it's really modelled for that.
Right.
All right. Modeling for Advantage has another question. He says, I am planning to use
Carthaginians.
There you go. Models during the First Punic War, Syracuse fighting. Are there rules for elephants, or is there an approximation I can use in Mythic, like a Hydra or so?
There isn't elephant rules released yet, but they're coming.
See, my buddy's like me. I can't wait for the elephant. I just want to. You know what it goes back to? I'll tell you, Andy, and I think you'll remember this. Remember Dragon magazine?
Yes.
Okay. I remember opening the Dragon magazine, and inside was a war elephant from Ral Partha, and it was just the greatest thing. And I ordered it, and it never came. And I think now you're talking. I was 14 at the time, so I've had 36 years to bitch and moan about it. So now that I'm established and I have an inside track, I want to see that can go to like you said, we'll go to 600 points, and I'll bring 6 elephants, and we'll figure it out like that. See, to me that's cool.
Absolutely.
I'll bring 6 elephants, the leader, Locagos, Promachos, and then 6 elephants, and then you know what? You hoard the board with whoever you want. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But yes, they will come. I'll tell you who does make nice elephants. A company called Agema. And they're doing Etruscans at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking to them about using their Etruscans as well in Mortal Gods.
Okay.
So the Etruscans will come, Carthaginians will come, the Syracusans will come, the Celts, there was Celts at a point where they came. So, they'll all be introduced. And I think after that, we would look at Troy. I think we'd do Troy, because I think the Mortal Gods engine really, because it's heroic, it really lends itself for the Trojan Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So will like Achilles and Hector and all that will, I mean, you could not do it, right?
Totally, yeah. Well, to be honest, we've already written a lot of it. All we need to do, with the help of a chap called Richard Seven, who is very, very knowledgeable around it. So all we need to do is finalise the actual warrior profiles. Everything else is done. We've got loads of scenarios, all the backgrounds done, etc. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't do it next year.
Excellent.
And that is all the questions.
Are we getting Carthage rules? Awesome. I just used the standard. I was just going to use the standard unit cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't 2 inches tall. It was big. He's telling me that the war elephant was 2 inches tall. I think it was because it was a 28 millimeter, and I think it was a little bigger. And, it's funny. I was on a chat with a buddy of mine. We just hobbying and talking, and he has all the Dragon magazines on. He always finds stuff, so he had all the Dragons magazines in a file. And I said, "Oh, it's approximately this date." And he says, "Oh, is this?" I go, "Oh my God, that's it," So it was awesome, But,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Any questions or?
That's it. If you guys have any more questions, throw them in the chat.
Throw them in now, because Mr. Hobday, it's starting to get dark by him.
Yes. I need to have my dinner.
Yeah. Any questions? Do you have any questions?
We pretty much covered it.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
So Andy, what do you think, man? I mean, I got to tell you, we'd like tickle pink, like being Johnny kind of facilitated, says, "Listen, get in touch with this guy and do this," and then we started talking, and then we were able to do the videos and stuff, which was fantastic. We love the game. I'll tell you, we're Mortal Gods, for life. We're gonna get tattoos of Mortal Gods and stuff. We're gonna do it. Andrew's gonna get it across.
Pegasus, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna get on his chest Mortal Gods on the back. I'm a Pegasi guy. So, which actually somebody said that we should sell like Family Gamers. I'm a Pegasi guy on the back. So I said, all right, that's
Okay.
we'll get some meme merch that we do. But yeah, we're digging it, man. Like we said, from Test of Honor to Mortal Gods to now, I'm excited about Baron's Wars and the stuff. It's just you're doing the right thing. We're digging the stuff. So if we can say we're fans, we really are, because it's if I'm going to spend some money and time and hobby time into something, I wanted to do something where it's enjoyable, but also has some kind of meaning or it meaningful in the way that it's not a crap game. It's something good and something memorable.
Yeah.
And I think you've like I said, you checked all the boxes, and we're really, it's really, you're doing a great job. I think keep it up. Really, we're loving it. So I don't know how much more I can gush, but you know what I mean.
No, mate. Honestly, just the fact that you're enjoying playing the games is enough.
Okay.
That's enough for me. And it's that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
That's what it is. And you guys, you got in touch. You wanted to make some videos. You made some great videos, and we're really pleased you did that. So if we can continue to support you, we're happy to send you stuff. That's no problem.
We're happy to do it. I got a lot of ideas, so don't go nowhere.
No plans.
Anything else? See, you got Kaiser with the freaking question. I'm trying to get out of here. Go ahead.
Modeling for Advantage says cavalry for Mortal Gods ?
Yes. There's rules. I put a card up the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I have the card done. The Thracians, Thracians have cards, and the Persians have cards for cavalry. There is there's a Thessalian Greek cavalry card, which is an orange one, which we've had for ages, and it will go in that deck of many things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's 43 points. There's an orange card somewhere. I'll drop the card into the Mortal Gods group on Facebook, so if people want to just print it off for now and use it, they can.
Okay.
You know. But yeah, it's done. It's been done. It's my fault. It's been done for a long time.
So now, the next step for Mortal Gods, I know you covered a lot of things. This is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out. Is it going to be Mortal Gods 2nd edition, or is it just like, all right, well, this is more toys to play with? Because Mortal Gods is, what, a year old?
Yeah, March. We pre-ordered March 2019, and it sold out before we launched it.
Right.
So we had to get it reprinted, and then it was launched in June, July last year. So it's about, 15 months old?
It's a baby.
16 months old? Yeah, it's still a baby. And you know...
it doesn't need a second edition.
It doesn't need a second edition.
No.
There's still plenty of stuff to come yet. But at some point, because we've released it in the way we have, where here's this piece and that piece, and at some point it'd be good to, you know, collate it all together, I think. Maybe we'll do that at some point. I'd like to, you know, you guys have beaten us to it because we haven't done it. I'm so pleased you did. I'd like to do some videos, you know, how to play videos and all of that stuff. And one of the things we're going to do with the Barons War is we're going to bring out a community website, because we found that there's a lot of people who don't like to use Facebook. So for the Barons War, we're going to have loads of army lists on there and stuff. But we're also going to put a Mortal Gods section in there eventually. So I'll have Mortal Gods videos, and I'll have loads of downloads, and we'll use it as a single place to go. So, you know, that will be the next thing. And maybe an army builder, you know, make the cards all available online so you can build armies and, you know, and do that kind of thing. Because, you know, one of the things that I am struggling with is there's loads more stuff I'd like to release for Mortal Gods, but we have to do cards for them. You know, so, you know, if it was just a bunch of stats, we could chuck it up, couldn't we?
Right.
And then people go, off you go. But, you know, and don't get me wrong, I love cards, and I really like the way it looks. However, you know, it's kind of slowed the process down a bit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's either cards or book. That's really...
Yeah, cards or book. Yeah, totally.
You either, you know, you go one way or the other. There's really no other, you know, maybe a PDF or something, but you still need cards. Yeah. We could, you know, I've got some good ideas. We'll, you know, I don't want to spoil the surprises, but we've got some good ideas of how we can manage that process. Right.
However, you know, when talking about Barons War, there's no cards in Barons War. Okay.
So it's lists.
So it's all book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you do need an army builder because you need lists.
Yes.
I usually do it myself on Excel. That makes me memorize stuff, and you know, I like to do it that way. But yeah, an army builder would be. I mean, you'd have to have it for at least for Barons War. So
yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
That's it. Barons War basing.
Another question from Modeling for Advantage. Barons War basing. Will it be on rounds still, or can we multi-base for the new game? I have put in the rules. Funny enough, I've put in the rules that there is 25mm rounds for infantry, 25 by 50 mil hill base for cavalry. However, I've also given a caveat in there, because I know what everybody's like. They'll just base them however they want to do that. So you can do that too. But it is individually based.
Right. But if you're not doing a tournament where everything has to be precise, you can do whatever the hell you want, really. You know. So if I want to put them on a 32 mil base, well, that's on me. You know.
Up to you, yeah. As long as you, and I've said this in the rules, as long as you and your opponent are happy with it.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Marky Farr, he square bases all the way. I have to make him use round bases.
Right.
But he will just use square bases. Everything's on square bases.
So you have to tell him, Mark, you have to get some round bases or else.
Yeah. So the way the mechanics work, you can use any base. You know. So that's fine. But we've had to standardise it, and they're the bases that you get with figures.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you know what it is too. It's like it's funny because basing comes down to it's like a stickler for war gamers. It's like well, no, why is that on a 40 mil? It should be on a 22 mil.
Well, I think that again comes from mass war games where it's all about manoeuvrability.
Right.
And that's the hangover for bases. I think.
Like
I think if you're doing base edge, you may be closer, but you're also closer to be hit or charged. You're on a round base, so it's your choice, isn't it?
Yeah. It's But then again, you could say, well, if you're within 1 inch, and then that solves all the problems. So I'm in 1 inch of the corner. That's it. That's done. But the rank and flank is different because I know the sizes mean something. Like this is the bigger base, the smaller base, but you have to have it because you could have one model on a big base and it's still the Armada or whatever whatever game you're playing. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, this has been great. We got a bunch of people here. We've had they stayed with us the whole time. We really appreciate it. Andy from the two Andys across the pond. This is an absolute pleasure. We got a lot. Listen, I know we talked for a while, but geez, we got a lot of great stuff out of this. It'll be on YouTube, either this one or I'll cut it up and make it nicer so you can see the handsome gentleman from America. But yeah, this was excellent, man. And we really, I'm glad because we had some issues getting together, but it was good. I knew we were going to do it. I'm glad we actually got to finally sit down and chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, anytime you have carte blanche, you can come on anytime you want.
Oh,
make some announcements or whatever. Yeah, no, definitely. You have a home here at Family Gamers. You're part of the family now. I got to send you a T-shirt.
I'd love a T-shirt.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, you have anything, my brother?
That's it.
All right, guys. So, Andy, what about some links and stuff, all that good stuff? Sell some stuff.
Put some miniatures. And games, pop along there. Everything's on the site. I'm all over Facebook. I have been quiet recently. For me, I've been quite quiet recently because I've been doing a lot of stuff offline, which is with the rules. But I have a Facebook page, not because I think I deserve one, but that's my work hobby page. I have a private page with about 40 friends, so don't be offended if I don't. If you send me a friend's request to that and I don't friend you, that has all my kids and stuff on. I don't share that. But if you wanna catch up with me, just find my page, Andy Hobday, and I'll message me, talk to me. I'm happy to talk through there as much as you want. But yeah, everything we have is, like I say, is all on
Futsal.
It's all on Futsal.
So it's good. One-stop shopping. And if you do send Andy a message, his secretary will say that he's not around, but he'll get back to you.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. But I will.
Yeah. That thing. Hey, Andy, thanks very much for your thing, but right now it's like, I was like, this son of a bitch. I just texted him a second ago. The secretary couldn't. But yeah, man. Oh, dude, it's been a blast. I guess we're gonna end the chat now, and we'll do this again sometime soon when we got more. Maybe after Barons War, we'll kind of break it down and we'll do it again.
Yeah. Well, maybe we just talk about Barons War. We'll send you some stuff. You can play some games, and then
awesome. Yeah, we can
get on and talk about it. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, sounds good. All right, guys, thank you very much. Andrew's gonna do our standard exit.
If you liked the video, give this video a like. Subscribe. We'll have more Mortal God stuff, Test of Honor stuff, all that good stuff coming out.
Barons War.
Barons War, of course. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So we'll see you in the next one.
And you got a point. That's what we do. Boom. Excellent. All right, now how the hell we get out of here? End stream.